Good morning. I'm Nate Otto. I'm current board president this year, and I use he, him pronouns. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page. To participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes, please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comments section on our Facebook page where you can sign up. We're glad you could join us today.
Good morning. My name is Allison Oliphant. I am your worship associate today. Thank you for joining our online services. Our opening words are by Orlando R. Brugnola. Here, find a house of welcoming. Here, find vision and hope. Here, be received as you truly are, unique and beautiful, your journey acknowledged, your love honored. Let us rejoice together. Come, let us worship together. You can now join me in reading the words from the chat for lighting your chalice. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also, to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around the light of hope as we share this time together.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp, and I have a reading to share with you. This is your true inner voice from the Daily Om. The longer you listen to and believe your true inner voice, the stronger it will become. Within each of us, there are numerous voices, often that compete for our attention. It can be difficult to decide which one to listen to, particularly when the messages are all quite different, sometimes conflicting and even alluring. One voice, however, is the speaker of truth. Among all of our inner voices, your true inner voice is the one which encourages you, gives you hope, and pushes you to trust and believe in yourself. Conflict within oneself is often caused by dueling voices inside each one of us. As we move through life, we get mixed messages from the various aspects of ourselves. Some of our voices, such as the naysayer or saboteur, can speak so loudly that they drown out the voices of truth. Listening to your own inner voice, often the voice of understanding, support, and self-assurance, can help lessen and even resolve internal conflict. If you're looking toward the future, but your faith in your ability to succeed in life is wavering, you will benefit from finding and listening to this inner voice. You can connect with it by remaining relaxed and alert while listening carefully. If you have trouble distinguishing your inner voice from the others, meditation may be helpful. You may hear many voices as you meditate, but the one that you should pay attention to, and the one that speaks to you with love, understanding, and compassion. It will bolster your spirits and urge you to go after your dreams. And it will never cause confusion, remind you of past mistakes, or cause you to doubt yourself. The more you listen to and believe in what your inner voice is telling you about your values, your potential, the stronger that voice will become. And the more you disregard the voices that can interfere with your resolve to succeed, the quieter those voices will become. Saying no to voices that are judgmental and make you feel ashamed will help you stop being so critical of your failures and afraid of success. By finding and strengthening your inner voice, you will be able to ignore internal conflict and pick out the one that speaks the truth.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Buske. I'm happy to be here. I feel I need to premise my talk this morning by saying that I don't have all the answers, and I certainly don't know your solution. I prayed before I wrote this and can only speak from where I am now, and trust that it contains something that someone needs to hear. I'm speaking today on creating a welcoming community, and I think so many of us envision a welcoming community. And I'd like to ask you to take a moment to sit with that hope. What does that really look like to you when you envision a welcoming community? Can you pull out any specific actions or feelings? Can you see who that might involve and what apparent barriers loom over it for you and what feelings arise there? What does working alongside someone who doesn't understand you or whom you just can't get along with bring out? At first glance, the concept of a welcoming community seems simple. I mean, at least it does for me. Why can't we just be nice to each other? It's something I scream in my head and sometimes out loud, like once a day. But it seems the reality is that it does take some dedicated effort and a lot of patience and forgiveness and maybe a sense of faith, which can seem hard to come by these days. I work with JONAH. JONAH is a nonprofit organization that works to create a welcoming community for all by bringing diverse groups together and to try and address the root cause of social injustice. I came a bit unwillingly into my role as a community organizer because the concept is so vast, it can be hard to understand and also feel overwhelming. But I have learned that as long as I'm clear about my part and only doing my part, because I can't do someone else's, and I'm truly talking and working with others, it's very satisfying work full of personal growth as well as positive impacts for our community. This, of course, is a challenge to practice as well. In JONAH, we bring people together, not only from all walks, but deliberately those who have experienced injustice, oppression, or who have struggled, so that we may learn from each other what truly needs to be addressed and support each other in empowerment. To stay open to the concept that everyone has something to offer, and there's always more that I personally don't know. We try to come up with solutions to social issues by acknowledging that not only does no one person have all the answers, but in fact, we need our different viewpoints and skill sets and values to address common goals. In addition, it takes time and intention. But I have seen this work and it's amazing. So a couple examples where I've seen this concept work. First, just in general, our overall JONAH mission with has that common goal of addressing justice. We all agree, everyone who's involved in JONAH agrees that people matter, that all people deserve love and an opportunity to succeed in life. What that looks like in our structure is we have a multi-religious approach, and there's a number of reasons we have faith groups as our foundation. Some of that is easy access to people who are organized in care, and some of that is financial, but I think most of it is a representation of diversity in our community. We have so many people from different faith backgrounds, different religious groups. We have atheists, we have people who are uncertain about their faith beliefs at all. And we come together even though we all have fundamental differences in our beliefs and can put those differences aside and focus on that common value. And that concept is clear and people seem to understand that when they come to JONAH. So that general concept seems to work. A more specific example, we formed a newer task force about a year and a half ago called LIFT. And the common goal of that task force was to help people in the community understand the needs of returning citizens, people being released from jail and prison and are trying to find housing. This task force is a group of returning citizens, advocates, social workers, health department staff, and organizational leaders in the community. And we each took on our gifts and different skill sets and together have been able to educate the community as a team. I mean, literally 9 of us gave one presentation just so we could all like fill in our spot. And because of that approach, we have been able to communicate so that healthcare systems and other groups are looking at the problem differently, and people who are returning to the community feel heard and understood for the first time. I have also seen this concept not work. For example, within Jonah, we had what we thought was a common goal to support our community through COVID. But because some communication barriers just with, distancing and technology, whatnot, we also had different coping styles, different capacities during that time, different beliefs. And as our fears around the topic came out, judgments started happening, and putting our differences aside, even for that, through this has been difficult. Another example of when it doesn't work. If one of our task forces don't work, or if one of our task force members don't work with their whole team, if someone feels excluded on that task force, or the process isn't slowed down so everyone is on board and feels connected and understood. If someone is just driven by this is what's right and we're going to do it, that has created distance and bitterness, lack of understanding within the team, as well as low numbers and low power in the community. Okay, so a lot of people ask me, how is it possible to work in such a group then of diverse people when egos are involved, and when it's difficult to get along? How can someone work with others and welcome a difference when it appears to go against your values? Usually I tell people to listen to someone that they seem to not understand, to listen to what's happening without attachment and just curiosity, and start there. But I've been realizing the past few months that ask to listen right there can be a huge step. I feel like there's something that's missing first. I think part of this could be that when someone says something that's different than what we feel, it can sometimes signal a fear to our own sense of truth, and can have us question, whoa, can truth be subjective? I'm not sure we can create the space to listen to someone else until we get ourselves out of our own way, to listen to our doubts and fears, our questions, assumptions, judgments, and limiting beliefs about others or ourselves, and connect with our true inner voice that Julie just read about, that place that connects with our soul, peace, truth, God, and openness. So I think starting with meditation and self-reflection is a more needed first step, listening to our own conditioning and thoughts that prevent us from approaching others, and listening with our heart and that part that prevents us from participating in complete collaboration, that part which stops us from opening our arms to the other. Until we hear the voice in us that has faith and tells us that all is okay and as it should be, and is willing to grow, I don't think we can take that first step to really be welcoming. Maybe from here, we can be the truly welcoming example we want to be when we are clear with what's important to us and why, and what our responsibility is and what isn't. Then we can clearly just live out that example that we want to see. That sounds nice and ideal too. But we are not the thoughts, the fears, or the assumptions that stop us. We are more than that. And moving beyond those takes practice and support. I've always been someone who tries to be self-aware. It's definitely a practice that is required daily. I'll step away when I'm feeling good, and those preconditioned thoughts step right back in, and my connection to my inner voice drifts. I've been in it a little more deeply lately, and I'm amazed at how much more there always is to learn about myself. Especially now, I feel like our minds are flooded with things that keep me from seeing peace and being welcoming. I'm trying to make peace these days with all I do not welcome in myself and others and the world through myself, and to see that space where we are already welcome. And I hope from there the rest will come. I've stepped away from a lot of the world lately because of the hate and judgment and fear and overwhelmingness of everything that I think I see is painful. And this is not a long-term solution, but it has been a call to me perhaps to go inward to build that welcoming community, welcoming capacity. I see this personal struggle in almost every Jonah leader from time to time. To accept that certain policies are so hard to change, that people are still struggling, that some people seem not to care. And I hear, I can't work with this person, or I'm sure my way's right and I refuse to budge. And this is human, because we are all mere humans, but we have great capacity if we can see it. People are part of Jonah because they're working to move toward a more hopeful, collaborative, welcoming future, and it's worth the challenges. Our leadership training offers a lot of tools to work together toward a common goal because it does take effort and practice. Even our identifying that common goal is part of our training. But we don't really do much on this self-reflective piece. It's part of our routine, but it's not trained often. I think because maybe we assume that people have some sort of self-reflection or meditative practice built in from the faith background they come to us from. So maybe there's something more we could do there, but this ability to reflect inward does seem to be a crucial step, because it takes all of us, each and every one. But so then I hear from people, Lynn, not everyone is doing their part. I struggle sometimes to believe we can get to the welcoming community. I can't make everyone be any different than they already are. I can't create a welcoming, peaceful community by myself. I can't save the planet on my own. And of course, how dare I decide that everybody needs to be doing something different or the planet needs to be saving. I'm sure my own actions some days, though, aren't making an impact. And maybe that means it's time to look at things differently. A welcoming community is a worthy goal to strive for, but maybe like everything, it has to be about process and not the end goal, more about the journey and less about the destination. But I can start with me and try to be the most welcoming I can be and let that example be enough. Whether we can get there or not, for me to feel like I'm doing my part can inspire others. And connecting with that inner voice, that sense of faith, so that I can keep myself centered and peaceful, and seeking support to do so from those who love me, to keep me hopeful and feeling secure, seems important. It's difficult to go inward and be welcoming to ourselves and find out where we're not welcoming to others. It requires work, but that guiding voice inside might make it all worthwhile. So let it begin with me. I am not enough to do this big thing on my own. It takes everyone, but I can't make them. Instead of focusing on them, I can be enough in my own choices and feel good about those and be an example that hopefully inspires others to do the same. So I encourage you to look inside, find and follow your inner voice, and find out what's stopping you from being the example you want to be. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Thank you.
Our next reading is To Be Apart by Dipti Batali. To be apart and not stand apart. To belong and not be isolated. To have friends and not just companions. To feel needed and not just be a person with needs. To be a participant and not just a spectator. To have responsibilities and not just enjoy rights. To have opportunities, not just favors, is to be included.
Good morning. My name is Barb Habben. I'm a member of this congregation, and the words in my reflection today are drawn from my many experiences and involvement with individuals and their families who live with mental illness, along with community organizations focused on mental health. Inclusion is an important part of recovery for individuals who live with mental illness. Recovery is possible and achieved by many, but for countless others, a mental health diagnosis leads to needless trauma, losses, and shortened lives. Too many people leave school, lose jobs, get arrested, become homeless, or attempt suicide. Each loss greatly impacts an individual's self-confidence and self-esteem, which then greatly increases hopelessness in their ability for recovery. Individuals living with mental illness express the importance of the community's role in welcoming, connecting with, and supporting people with mental illnesses. Connecting people to treatment that works for them is a powerful outcome of engagement, but equally important is helping them feel valued and included at home, at work, at school, and in the community, whether or not they stick with a treatment plan. While there are many reasons people do not engage in mental health services and supports, including for some, a lack of insight, a recently published report from NAMI on engagement, a new standard for mental health care, focuses on the foundation for this engagement. That is, the relationships between people with mental illness and service providers, along with families and the broader community. Trusting and respectful relationships are essential for recovery. If we want to improve the lives of individuals with mental illness and their families, we must shift to a culture that embraces engagement as a new standard of care. The task of defining engagement sparked lively conversation among the participants that were involved in helping determine the recommendations for this NAMI report. The participants shared a strong interest in not placing the burden of success or failure of engagement on the people with mental health conditions or their family or supporters. Instead, they saw engagement as a two-way process that includes a determination to never give up on the person. Participants agreed that engagement has multiple dimensions and must embrace the whole person in the context of family, language, culture, and community. Engagement goes beyond the traditional medical goals of symptom reduction and functioning to include wellness and connection to family, friends, community, faith, school, and work. One of the participants shared this: "The problem may not be that I have a bipolar disorder, but that I have had to quit school or quit my job." From this discussion with the participants emerged the following working definition. Engagement is the strength-based process through which individuals with mental health conditions form a healing connection with people that support their recovery and wellness within the context of family, culture, and community. Engagement expands on the concepts of person-centered care and therapeutic alliance. Successful engagement enables people to pursue recovery and life goals across multiple areas: home, school, work, and their community. Engagement is built and sustained on the foundation of hope, mutual trust, respect, effective communication, and recognition of the strengths and resources that people experiencing mental illness bring to their recovery. Unfortunately, many find themselves isolated from opportunities for being included in the activities of everyday life. If they are fortunate to have a supportive family, they may be the only ones that they spend any time engaged in a variety of meaningful activities. They often are unemployed despite their educational status. The stigma surrounds mental illness prevents many people from being able to be a part of groups and organizations that are part of our communities. How can we change that for those individuals? First, we do need to look inward, as Lynn talked about, to determine our own beliefs around mental illness. You may or may not be aware of someone living with a mental illness. There are actually many that you encounter every day who have had access to great resources, which have allowed them to recover and manage their illness and live a meaningful life. But again, stigma and not enough quality resources prevent too many from successful recovery. Here in Wisconsin, we have an organization called WISE, which stands for Wisconsin Initiative for Stigma Elimination. Their focus is to promote inclusion and support for all affected by mental health challenges. They do this by implementing and advancing evidence-based practices for stigma reduction using a variety of evidence-based programs. Studies that have been done on the most effective way to reduce stigma has determined the power of individual stories from those able to share how they have experienced mental illness and about their journey to recovery. A program called WISE Basics is a presentation on what stigma is all about and what research has taught us about how we can reduce it through a model that they call TLC4. TLC4, the letters stand for targeted, local, contact, credible, change-focused, and continuous. I don't have time to go into a lot of the details of this program, but I do see it as being something worthwhile for us to look at. They also have a great resource called Safe Person and 7 Promises, which is a way to enhance non-judgmental listening and effective support for people experiencing emotional distress. Another program they offer is on compassion resilience that's designed to increase personal and organizational capacity for those working in healthcare, schools, workplaces, faith communities, or other community organizations. These evidence-based programs lay out a path that does require a great deal of time and commitment. Yet we can start small just by being more aware of how it can help begin this process of engagement and inclusion for individuals and their families living with mental illness. Also, we can be more persistent advocates for expanding both the number and availability of quality resources to treat those affected by mental illness. In order to be more welcoming, we need to better understand the individual stories of people living in our communities. I encourage you to look at the resources available on the WISE Wisconsin website. Share it with friends and colleagues and others who are willing to learn more about the lives of those living with a mental illness. I know that most of you in this congregation really appreciate the power of story. Because of that, I'm hopeful that you will proactively seek out and listen to the stories of those affected by mental illness. Through the power of those stories, we all seek to eliminate the stigma that often keeps individuals from feeling welcomed and comfortable as active participants in our communities. I like to end with a quote from someone that many of you are familiar with, Paul Wellstone. We all do better when we all do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the time in our service where we share our deepest joys and concerns. You may share your joys and concerns in the chat, and I will share them aloud in the circle and caring community, in the circle of this caring community. I'm going to allow a moment of silence for our joys and concerns to be shared here, either on Zoom or on Facebook. And I'll start off with the candle that Angie Zabrowski, a member of this congregation, asked us to share. Angie Zabrowski's dad passed away on Friday. He was surrounded by his family when he passed, and his last intelligible word was love. we light a candle. And if I didn't say that well, his last intelligible word was love. We also light a candle of thanks for our two speakers today, Lynn and Barb, who shared their stories of welcome. Thank you. A note from Nate and the Otto family. Our cat Kahlua passed yesterday after over 15 years of companionship. She and Lauren knew each other before we met. I'm so thankful for Kahlua, who approved of me. That pet approval is important for your potential partner. Marcia Jacobs shares that it was so nice to participate in Peace Camp with my grandchildren on Friday. Yes, I heard lots of fun stories from Peace Camp with Amy Johnson, our RE coordinator, and lots of cool pictures on our RE page. From Allison Oliphant, a concern for a family member who was recently diagnosed with cancer. So we light this candle for Allison and her family member. Trish shares joy for beautiful weather and outdoor games and conversations for our small family get-together. Then we have from Julia Brown, a concern for my husband who has been on antibiotics for 4 months and they are not working. So we send light and love to Julia and her husband. I'll light a candle for my nephew who was in a car accident that totaled his car, but he and his roommate were okay. So grateful for that. I light this final candle for all the joys and concerns too tender to escape the folds of our heart. And Ashley says positive thoughts for the new school year. If you'll please join me with the words found in your chat or your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I was trying to move my candle so you could see it, but I have joy that the candle did not fall over. Thank you.
Our story for all ages this morning is called James Luther Adams by Jessica York. This story is about a time when a group of Unitarian Universalists had to make a difficult decision together and needed to listen to each other. Unitarian Universalism is a living faith. We think that people should be free to believe what they must believe, the truth of their life experiences, instead of professing a belief in what we are told to believe. This is what we mean when we say ours is a creedless religion. Being a living faith means that any one of us can change what we believe if we experience a deeper truth that contradicts our previous beliefs. But in order to change, you have to be open to new thoughts, new ideas, and new experiences. You have to have your ears open to hear the experiences of the people with whom you are in community. There is a saying that people were created with 2 ears and 1 mouth because we should listen twice as much as we speak. When we come together in community, we have the opportunity to listen to each other and gain a perspective greater than what we would have had alone. Sometimes we listen with our ears. When you are part of a sacred, beloved community, you listen not only with your ears, but also with your heart. A listening heart has the power to help us be better people. In 1948, most congregations and houses of worship in the United States were segregated by the color of their members' skin. Some were segregated by law, others by custom or by lack of actively trying to welcome and include all people. The First Unitarian Society of Chicago was one of these congregations. Although their church was located in a neighborhood with many African Americans, only whites could join, according to the written bylaws of the church and according to custom. The day came that many members began to believe they needed to take action against racism if they really wanted to live out their values and principles. The minister, the Reverend Leslie Pennington, was ready for this day and ready to take action. So was James Luther Adams. James Luther Adams was a famous liberal theologian and social ethicist, a person who studies religion, beliefs, and values. Dr. Adams taught at Meadville Lombard Theological School right across the street from the First Unitarian Society of Chicago, and he was a member of the congregation's board of directors. He was a leader in the congregation. Along with some others, Reverend Pennington and James Luther Adams proposed a change in the church's bylaws to desegregate the church and welcome people, whatever the color of their skin. They wanted to include, not exclude. They saw this as a way to put their love into action. When the congregation's board of directors considered the desegregation proposal, most of them supported it. However, one member of the board objected. "Your new program is making desegregation into a creed," he said. "You are asking everyone in our church to say they believe desegregating or inviting, even recruiting people of color to attend church here is a good way to tackle racism. What if some members don't believe this?" Desegregation was a very controversial topic. In 1948, anything about skin color and racism was controversial. Some people, even some who supported African Americans in demanding their civil liberties, believed in a separate but equal policy which kept people apart based on their skin color. Respectful debate ensued at the First Unitarian Society of Chicago. Both sides felt in their hearts that their belief was right. Perhaps they were so busy trying to be heard they forgot to listen. And so they kept on talking. The debate went on in the board of directors meeting until the early hours of the morning. Everyone was exhausted and frustrated. Finally, James Luther Adams remembered that we should be listening twice as much as talking. He asked the person who had voiced the strongest objection, "What do you say is the purpose of this church?" Suddenly, everyone was listening. Everyone wanted to hear the answer to this crucial question. Probably the person who objected was listening especially hard to his own heart, as well as to the words he had heard from other board members through the long discussion. The board member who opposed opening the church to people of color finally replied, "Okay, Jim, the purpose of this church is to get hold of people like me and change them." The First Unitarian Society of Chicago successfully desegregated. There are things that you know, and there are things that I know. When we are together and listening to each other with ears and hearts, we know more.
What do you say the purpose of this church is? To get a hold of people like you and me, to listen more. We hear more when we are together. That's really hard. It's very hard to quiet our voice and listen twice as much because we have thoughts and feelings, and especially when we're stressed, it's hard to sit on ourselves and to remember to listen more, speak less. especially listening to voices that are not heard as often. To step aside if we come from a place of power or privilege, or our voice is most often heard, to let other voices be heard. Talked about inclusion, of listening to our inner voice, but if we're too busy talking, we can't hear our inner voice or the voice of other people. So when I think of welcoming community, I think of the work that we do within ourselves. How do we create a space that prepares us, like Lynn was talking about? How do we become prepared to examine who we are, our prejudices, our isms, the lens through which we see the world, so that we know when we enter into a conversation what's going on with ourselves? And then listening to Barb about the welcome that comes or doesn't come when there is stigma, and trying to create spaces by listening and with compassion. And this is especially true with people living with mental illness, or with other things that other people that are kept from society or belonging. And so as we enter soon into this fall year, our children are going back to school, COVID numbers are high, stress is high. What is it that we can do within ourselves to create spaces of welcome? Because right now, more than ever, we need our own self-compassion, and our community and our families need compassionate spaces where we can slow down, not react so quickly. I think I have been very guilty of that lately, with stress levels being high. I maybe respond too quickly to an email, or don't listen enough to what somebody's saying because I assume I know what they're going to say, and I might speak over them or not create space for them in the conversation. And it creates harm. It creates anger or feelings unwelcome. And especially right now where we're all heightened, it's hard. And so what I'm trying to do is to slow down again, to remember that I am a part of something bigger. And I like what Lynn said, it's not all up to me, we're all a part of the solution. And if we can know that we're a part of a larger community held by something like love or God or whatever is sacred to you, we can rest sometimes. It's tiring to engage, to do the work of welcome. But when we do it well, love is the spirit of this church, right? And love is the spirit of our congregation and our community. When we held the welcoming community, when 400 people were bursting to welcome, when there were voices of unwelcome in our community. Right now we're about to enter into a time where we're going to have Afghanistan refugees coming into the US. How can we welcome those who are hurt and afraid and scared right now? How can we welcome the voices who aren't included in our community? And how can we welcome ourselves hurt and broken, and however we arrive, with compassion, listening, and love? Who does the church say that we are? What is the purpose of the church? It's a good question. And I think we say it each Sunday after our joys and concerns. And I think we work on it and keep coming back because it is a spiritual practice to do welcome and to listen and to be compassionate, to grow our little hearts. You think of the Grinch, he had that tiny little heart, and Cindy Lou Who singing Yahoo Dore. What is our Yahoo Dore? Thank you for doing the work of welcome. Amen. And speaking of that, with gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help those in need and support the work of this congregation. In July and August, our 50-50 Share the Plate recipient has been the Chippewa Valley LGBTQ+ Center. You can donate online at uueauclair.com or text to give at 84321. The offering will now be given and very gratefully received.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Please join me at home with extinguishing your chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words are by Jean M. Ricard. We have a calling in this world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect differences with dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are people of a wide path. Let us be wide in affection and go our way in peace. Amen.